So we've talked about integers, right? Different types of numbers. Integers are whole numbers and their opposites. Positive and negative numbers, zero, but no fractions, decimals. And so now we're going to operate with integers. Specifically, we're going to add. And what we're going to learn here also works for other types of numbers, but sometimes it's easier to start with things that are a little simpler. So addition with integers, I'm going to show these using a number line because I think it's a really valuable tool for this sort of thing. Visualizing what's happening is way better to learn than simply some rules. So the first one we're going to look at is -7 plus 3. And what you'll see here with the notation, because the notation, the symbols are really important, are two integers, -7 and 3. And we are adding them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I'm going to put 0 on here because sometimes it's nice to see where 0 is. I'm just going to put 0 there. And down here I'll put -7. All right, because we're starting at -7. When we're adding, we're moving this way on the number line. We're moving to the right. We're adding 3. So we're going to start at -7 and do a jump of 3, right, in the positive direction, so +3. So you can even envision it as 3 individual little hops, right? 1, 2, 3. So -7 goes to -6, -5, and then -4. So that's where we land if we add 3. So -7 plus 3 equals -4. Okay? So let's look at another one. -2 plus 5. So again, we have two integers, -2 and 5, and we are adding them. So again, we'll start by putting 0 on our number line, and then we're going to put -2 here, so it's a little closer. -2 right there. And we're going to add 5. Now, in the previous problem, all the work we did stayed over here on this left side of 0. So we started down here and we did all of our work in the negative zone. That's going to be different here. We're going to be crossing 0. If we start at -2 and start adding 5, we're going to end up over here. And that's where it gets a little tricky to visualize. So if we're going to add 5, that's really the same thing as adding 2 and adding 3 more. So 2 little hops of 2 and 3 are the same as one big jump of adding 5. So why do we do 2? Well, we did 2 to get up to 0. So you almost have to envision deconstructing your number a little bit, thinking about what the number is made of, what are its components. And so -2 plus 2 is 0, and then 0 plus the other 3 gets us up to 3. And that's our solution. That's our answer. -2 plus 5 is equal to 3. Okay? So there are a couple of different examples. So let's keep going. Let's do a few more. So now let me draw my number line, blank number line. And let's think about negative. Actually, let's do a positive number. We're going to do 8, and we're going to add -3. Now, look at the way I wrote that. 8 plus, and then we got a little -3. This looks a little weird when we have two symbols right next to each other. So usually what you'll see are parentheses, a grouping symbol around the negative and the 3, showing that together the negative goes with the 3, making it a negative number. It's a single value. And what we have again are two integers. We have 8 and we have -3, and they are being added. So if I take the same strategy and start with the 0 on my number line, and then I put 8 somewhere up here, when we are adding, usually we think about going to the right. But if we're adding a negative number, that actually makes us go back in the opposite, remember negative is opposite, the opposite direction. So adding -3 is the same thing as taking 3 away. It's going back to the left on our number line. So we're going to go back this way. So 8, 7, 6, 5. So 8 plus -3 is 5. So hopefully you're seeing how the number line can help you. And I want you to, you don't necessarily have to draw it out, but that's good practice to start doing so you can start visualizing these. So now let's do 1 plus -6. And I would suggest now starting to pause these after I put the problem down and do it yourself, or at least come up with an answer that you're going to commit to and then see what happens. Then come back to the video. So 1 plus -6, we have 0. We're starting at 1, right? That's our first integer, 1, and then we're going to add -6. So we're going to start with 1, and then we're going to add -6, which means we're going to the left, right? We're going to the left. But notice again, we're going to jump the 0 again, right? We're going to go past the 0. They're always a little bit harder. So we need to go 6 back this way. But think about breaking that up into 2 parts. Going back 1 gets us to 0, and then we have to go 5 more to make the entire -6. Where do we end up? At -5. So 1 plus -6 is equal to -5. I also relate it to money. It's like you got $1 and then you're adding on debt. Negative is like debt. If you got $1 and then you add on $6 of debt, now you're $5 in debt. Let me do a couple more here. So let's say we start with a negative number, like -3, and then we're going to add another negative number, like -4. So again, we have 2 negative numbers, 2 integers, -3 and -4. Notice how I put this one in parentheses, but not this one. The reason I did that, notationally, is because this one comes after a plus sign. And we do it to separate the signs. This is the operation. This is the action. This is the thing we're doing. This negative is attached to the 4, meaning it's a negative number. So again, we start with 0. Put the 0 on the number line. Our first number, -3, I'm going to put right about here. And then we are adding -4. So again, we're going to the left. So I'm going to start at -3, and I'm going to go 4 more to the left. So it's taking us more negative, right? It's -3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 more, which gets us down to -7. -3, -4, 5, 6, -7. So -3 plus -4 is -7. So what I want to do now is just take you back up to the very first problem and notice the visuals. The visuals are incredibly important, being able to see what's happening. But now you want to look for patterns, and this is something that you might recall from another math class, right? When we're adding the 2 numbers and the signs are different, right, negative and positive, what happens is, to get the answer, you're actually subtracting the 2 numbers and taking the sign of whichever one was bigger. And when I say bigger, what I really mean is like the absolute value, right? 7 is bigger than 3. It was the negative number, so our answer is negative. We had a higher value in the negatives than we did the positives, so our answer ended up negative. In the -2 plus 5, we had a smaller negative and a bigger positive, so when we added them, they ended up +3. 5 minus 2 is 3. This one, 8, if we subtract 8 and 3, find the difference, you get 5, but the bigger number was positive, so it's positive. Same thing here, 1 and 6. If you subtract them, you get 5, and the negative number had the bigger value. In the last example, both numbers were negative, and so it's like we're starting with debt and we're adding on more debt. So 2 negative numbers just get more negative. You actually add the numbers together and take the sign of what they both were. So that's something that will come later, observing those patterns. But for now, try to visualize, draw the number line if that helps, and work your way to developing those patterns.